Columbia, Houston, state vectors coming on board.
We copy.
This is Mission Control Houston. This is a live television view of the shuttle landing facility runway at the Kennedy Space Center.
It was a Saturday. I was at home, and the Space Shuttle Columbia landing was going to be at about 7 in the morning Houston time.
Columbia is 176 miles above the Indian Ocean. Also, a flight controller standing by for tracking data of Columbia.
I turned on NASA Select, and you know the pattern. You know exactly what landing is supposed to sound like. And so everything sounded great. The dots were coming down over Texas.
14 minutes to touchdown for Columbia at the Kennedy Space Center.
Columbia, Houston, comm check.
But then I heard Columbia, Houston, comm check. I sat up. Right, I'm sitting up. Now I'm sitting up. Like, uh-oh, I don't like this. This doesn't look good. And then the worst was they go to a backup radio system, the UHF, and they go, Columbia, Houston, comm check on UHF.
Columbia, Houston, UHF comm check.
If all else fails, that's when you try to reach them on the backup radio.
Columbia, Houston, UHF comm check.
That's bad news. So I get up, I start getting dressed because I know I got to go in. So,
what are you feeling?
It's dread, right? This is kind of the worst case, right?
GC flight. Lock the doors. Copy.
I was on console in the space station flight control room, and I was listening on the loops, and I could hear my counterpart in the shuttle room trying to call the shuttle crew and them not answering. And we have CNN on in the control rooms, and I saw what was happening.
What we're seeing here is very ominous indeed. These are pictures which tell the story. That is clearly the shuttle breaking up as it passes south of Texas.
As I'm trying to figure out more details, Ken Bowersox calls down. He was on board the International Space Station. And he says, "Hey, Jen, according to my watch, the crew should have landed by now. How's it going down there?" And I looked over at the flight director, and she shook her head. And I said, "Hey, there's not going to be a landing today." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "There's been an accident, a serious accident."
My fellow Americans, this day has brought terrible news. Debris was seen falling from the skies above Texas. The Columbia is lost. There are no survivors.
We don't hesitate to talk about it. It's, I'm incredibly sad for the friends that I lost, I know that this incident carries huge consequences for NASA. They built 6 shuttles, and we lost 2 of them, both Challenger and Columbia. We couldn't afford to lose another shuttle. We were halfway building the space station, and we needed the shuttles to fly to continue the job.
When I was 16, I lived in Finland, and I was an exchange student. I lived with a Finnish family, and we lived in the eastern part called Karelia, right on the Soviet border. So I literally lived on a lake, and on the other side of the lake, I could look over there and see the Soviet Union. They had one of these little wooden guard shacks. A year later, when I graduated from high school, I joined the Air Force when I was 17 to defend Europe from the Russians. I was an F-16 pilot for about a decade, and then I became a test pilot, and then eventually went to NASA as an astronaut.
When I first joined NASA, we had a great relationship with Russia. We had just done Shuttle Mir. Russia was not the Soviet Union anymore, and they had this young president who was promising to reform things and get rid of corruption.
Мы доказали, что Россия становится по-настоящему современным демократическим государством.
The International Space Station will be a continuous operation to orbit the Earth for a minimum of 15 to 20 years. The object now is cooperation, not domination, a launching point for the future of humankind.
The excitement about the ISS was really palpable. Everybody felt it. We used to say off the Earth, for the Earth. There was this excitement that, hey, this is how people can and should work together.
Minus 10, 9, 8.
It's the end of an era. The shuttle Endeavour takes up the final parts of the International Space Station. On a 2-week mission to fit what's essentially a bay window in space.
On my first space flight on the Space Shuttle Endeavour, we brought up 2 modules, Node 3, which is a big living module, and the cupola. And the cupola is everybody's favorite place in space. It's a really cool module. It's got 7 windows. You go in there, you put your whole body inside of it, and you're surrounded by 6 windows, and then there's a 7th big window above you. I moved it to the bottom of Node 3, so it's on the bottom of the space station, so when you look up, there's Earth. It's really an amazing experience.
The New York Times described it as a new window that forever changed our view of Earth.
I love that description, a new window that forever changed our view of Earth. It changed my view of Earth, for sure. And the cupola makes you feel emotional, which is an unusual experience for a fighter pilot to feel emotions, but it's an intense emotion to go, man, this is so beautiful. Just see things that you don't see on Earth.
Ну и в целом мне МКС, разумеется, понравилось.
Все, летим за мной.
Конечно, когда прилетели, я первым делом сразу начал везде летать, смотреть. Можно разместиться достаточно комфортно, не надо друг над другом где-то висеть. Вначале, когда просто еще не знакомы, но когда мы вместе посидели, попили чаю, выпили по рюмке, допустим, коньяка, вот если рассматривать там русского, американца, европейца, астронавтов, космонавтов, у нас нет никакого различия между собой, абсолютно.
Да, это мне командир презентовал.
А ты слышишь, да?
Он рисует. Чтобы тебя видели все. Юрась, надо одно, или кушать, или снимать, а то не достанется.
Видите, совместный экипаж российско-бельгийский, американский. Такая дружественная, веселая обстановка. Мы дышим одним воздухом, мы пьем одну и ту же воду. Это одна система, одна команда. Я иногда даже шучу. Для того, чтобы исправить на нашей планете все политические проблемы, надо наших руководителей посадить в один космический корабль, и тогда, смею вас уверить, они моментально порешают все те проблемы, которые есть на Земле.
We had obviously several cosmonauts. We had a Japanese astronaut. We even had an international crew dinner one night where we shared food from all the different countries. Japanese food and Russian food and Alabama Creole food, and so it was a fun international time. It was great.
What is that sushi? It's a space sushi. Space sushi with salmon. Space cooked sushi. Yeah.
We all grew up at Cold War with each other, right? So it took time to build trust, to build relationships, to bridge that language gap, which was very real, especially early on. And it worked. We thought that we were going to be friends forever.
Good morning to Janet and the rest of the crew. Hope you had a good night's sleep, and it looks like a beautiful day to take a walk.
Good morning, Lima. We'll try to get our space boys out the door today and get to Sherlock on the station.
Fantastic.
After I finished training astronauts for the ISS, I just kind of took some time to reassess what was next for me. And I went to talk to my boss at the time, and he says, you know what would be a really good place for you is in the control room as a Capcom. Capcom is short for capsule communicator. It's the person that talks to the crew. And as soon as he suggested that, I thought he was crazy. And I said, Randy, I can't be a Capcom. Capcoms are always astronauts. And he said, this is a brand new space station, and you're one of the few people that know the space station really in depth. So why don't you give it a try? I was honored, of course, to be the first one. But there's also a lot of pressure anytime you're the first one to do something. You know, don't screw this up, Ginger. So I dedicated myself to the training. I remember my first day on console, I was so nervous. And I walk in there and I sit down, and the crew calls down, and so it's my first time talking to space. I look at the flight director, he gives me a go, and I answer the crew, and then all of a sudden you hear, "Oh, Ginger, was that you? Oh my gosh, congratulations, I heard this was your first day, and you sound really professional." And I'm thinking, I'm unlike what you sound like right now, Frank, but thanks a lot. And the flight director's looking at me, and he's like, how did you know him again?
We're looking forward to a good day of transfer and handover. And do you have any questions or comments for us?
No questions, I don't believe. We're real happy to be here, and it was a very nice night on the station, and we're ready to begin work.
As part of Capcom, are you their link to Earth as well? Is that?
Yes, and the more familiar they are with you, the more comfortable they are. And you know how to package information, and it may be one way for one crew member and another way for another crew member. And I always thought it was my job, too, to kind of keep it light, keep them entertained. So a lot of the crew members will celebrate their birthday in space, and they also deserve a birthday party.
Happy birthday, Daddy! We love you, Daddy!
And Gennady Padalka, when he flew, I brought this to his first birthday party. This is a crocodile, and his name is Genya, and he's part of a Russian children's story. And there's a very special song that is in this children's story that I learned in Russian, and I sang to Gennady. And it was years ago, so I'm going to see if I can remember it, but it's «Пусть бегут неуклюже пешеходы, положим вода по асфальту рекой».
К сожалению, день рождения только раз в году.
We try to do our best to make sure that they can follow along with us. So we've sent up for Christmas. We sent up Christmas trees so they can put their Christmas tree out.
Not bad.
We try to make sure that they don't feel isolated, that they feel a part of what's going on Earth. Because psychologically, I think that helps them, thrive in that environment.
Beyond just sort of making them feel connected to Earth, you had to deliver bad news.
Yes, I have had to deliver bad news sometimes.
It was December. I'd been on the ISS for about 2 months. And I was just talking to Jane on the phone, sort of like I normally do. And it was probably 10 or probably a little bit after 10 o'clock my time.
It was kind of a normal Dan's in Space day. Dan would phone me during his evening time before he went to bed.
And so I was just talking to Jane, we were talking about the day, and out of the communication system, Capcom says, hey, Station Houston on Space Ground 1, that's the communication channel, we're gonna set up a private call on Space Ground 2 for Dan. And so, first of all, nobody should be talking to you during the sleep period. Something's happening. There's no reason to call. There's some dire news. Thank God I was on the phone with Jane. If I wasn't on the phone with Jane, I would have gone nuts. I would have thought Jane or my kids, even if it took 10 seconds for me to find out if she was okay, that would have been terrifying.
My personal phone started ringing, and it was our NASA flight doctor calling. And he said, maybe you should come in. I walked into this small room at Mission Control, and they had set up a conference for me. Dan was already on the screen. Yeah, I had to tell him what had happened. There was an accident. I said his mom had died. Yeah.
Daniel Taney's 90-year-old mother died after a train hit her car at a vehicle crossing. His mother stopped behind a school bus at the crossing, then drove around the bus, bypassing the lowered crossing gate. She was pronounced dead at the hospital. Taney is grieving in space.
And you just, nobody gets training for this. Nobody gets training for losing your mother. I would be on the phone for hours talking to my family, talking to Jane, and that would make me feel better, helping make arrangements or helping, the way families all pitch in and do that in times of crisis like that.
What you want to do then is hug each other and hold each other and support each other like that. And yeah, we couldn't do that.
Was there ever any thought that he could come down?
No. He would not have wanted that. I wouldn't have wanted that for him. This was his mission. And no, not at all.
Good afternoon. I have feared this moment for most of my adult life. Of course, I never suspected that I'd have to speak on this occasion on videotape. It sounds funny to say, but at age 90, I think we lost Mom in the prime of her life. All of us know how active and involved and passionate she was, and she seemed to get better and better as the years went on. I just want to say that Mom has been and will continue to be my hero, my role model as a citizen, and as a friend, and as a parent.
Mom, I love you so much.
How does it feel? You are the first person to have to go through this.
First American. It happened to a Russian, although the Russian program chose not to tell this guy that his father had passed away for a year, so it was a much different story. But we have the International Space Station because we want to learn what it's like to live off this planet. But if you're going to live not on the planet, all of the aspects of life are still going to happen. And so there's going to be wonderful things and there's going to be terrible things. We just have to accept that it's not going to be all rosy and easy, and we're not just missing birthdays.
My space shuttle mission, STS-130, we were actually the final assembly flight. It was called 20A in this assembly sequence. And we finished building the International Space Station, and once that was complete, the space shuttle was to be retired.
Wonderful. You can see behind me there's the laptop that shows...
It was the highlight of my career to be the pilot of the Space Shuttle Endeavour. I loved flying it. Hundreds of years from now, people will look back at the space shuttle. We're never going to build anything like that again.
This week marks the beginning of the end of an era, the final countdown for America's space shuttle program.
The Space Shuttle Atlantis is on its last and final mission of NASA's 30-year shuttle program. Kristen Fisher, a reporter with our Washington station, WUSA, was not only covering history, she has been a part of it, and she's at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Kristen, good morning.
Good morning, Russ. Well, I think so many people my age take the space shuttle program for granted, and I used to be one of them. I grew up 5 minutes away from the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, and everyone in my neighborhood worked for NASA, including my mom and dad. So basically, ever since my first little psychedelic mushroom trip in college, I've been obsessed with space. I caught the space bug, and I never really felt the call to be an astronaut like my parents.
Give Daddy a kiss.
I think there is something kind of psychologically as a kid when you grow up your entire life with people saying, oh, are you gonna grow up to be an astronaut too?
Anna, I couldn't help but wonder if you'd recommend a career as an astronaut to your daughter, Kristen.
Oh, that I would, Mr. President. It's a truly incredible experience, and I'm going to recommend it to her highly.
Oh, that's wonderful.
The President of the United States asking if I'm gonna be an astronaut too. It was something that was just like, oh, all of you think that this is what my path in life is? It just, for whatever reason, made me wanna do something different. And I went into political journalism.
Whether the president is pushing his healthcare plan in person or online, he's really doing the same thing, and that is selling it. Right now, the top story on the White House website.
The older I got, though, the more I felt this kind of primal pull to space. In the days leading up to the last shuttle launch, I went to my news director and begged. I was like, please, like, I have to go cover this. Like, if you don't pay me to go cover this, I'm going to take a week of vacation and go do this by myself.
Atlantis, on behalf of KSC launch teams, past and present, have an excellent mission and Godspeed.
It was just a really special experience to get to be there with my mom.
It's sad. It's very, very sad. But it's time to move on to the next program, I guess. But there'll never be anything like the shuttle.
All three engines up and burning. Liftoff, the final liftoff of Atlantis.
That's incredible.
So I was the last flight director that they allowed to get certified on shuttle operations, and I had flown 3 shuttle missions, but I was not assigned to the last one. I went into mission control, and I was in the viewing room at the top waiting for, wheel stop.
Having fired the imagination of a generation, a ship like no other, its place in history secured, the space shuttle pulls into port for the last time. Its voyage at an end.
I just wanted to be there. I had no responsibilities, but as a flight director, I could be in there. And we helped close it down for the last time.
What were you feeling?
Simultaneous pride and sadness and concern. This vehicle had been flying since 1981, and it lasted 30 years. So I was proud from that perspective. And then I was concerned because we didn't have U.S. launch capability. We had no way as a nation, as a very proud spacefaring nation, I couldn't get a crew up into orbit if you asked me to tomorrow. For years, we had been the country to watch, the country that, sent up, John Glenn, the country that first set foot on the moon.
They've got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes on the lunar surface.
We had all these firsts, and we were the leader in the space industry. And now we're in unfamiliar territory. The shuttle was so prominent in the space industry. Every country knew that we had that capability, and I'm sure that every country knew that we had lost that capability.
Early this morning, China boldly went where very few others have ever gone before. It's become the 3rd country to send a man into space.
Meet Yang Li Wei, China's first spaceman and soon-to-be national hero. I will not disappoint the motherland. I will gain honor for the Chinese nation.
3, 2, 1, 0, +1.
It's taken years of planning and has cost $80 million, but India has now successfully launched a mission to the moon.
It's a historic moment as far as India is concerned. We have started our journey to the moon.
China has taken its first step towards building a rival to the International Space Station. A rocket containing the Tiangong-1 space laboratory was launched today from a site in the Gobi Desert.
This mission is being seen as a milestone for China's space program.
It really was a low point for human spaceflight in this country. But very quickly it emerged that the most immediate plan was going to be for the U.S. government to take a risk that it hadn't really taken before, which was enter into a truly public-private partnership with these commercial space companies.
After half a century of flying astronauts into space, NASA is hoping commercial companies will soon be ready to take over its responsibility of flying astronauts and cargo to the International Space Station. Several companies are developing commercial rockets. SpaceX is furthest along.
I hope SpaceX will be one of the principal means by which NASA astronauts go to space.
But SpaceX's lack of experience bothers some NASA legends like Apollo astronaut Gene Cernan.
Now is the time to overrule this administration's pledge to mediocrity.
Gene Cernan testified against commercial spaceflight in the way that you're developing it.
I was very sad to see that because those guys are, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough.
They inspired you to do this, didn't they?
Yes.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
It's difficult.
Did you expect them to cheer you on?
So they're hoping they would.
SpaceX, we're still, babies at the time that the space shuttle retired. And NASA was skittish about bad headlines from failures or explosions, right? So SpaceX was years away from being ready to carry humans into space. And the answer in the short term was to pay Russia up to $90 million per seat to get American astronauts on a Russian Soyuz rocket and then hitch a ride with Russian cosmonauts to and from the International Space Station. That was the short-term solution.
American astronaut Dan Burbank will launch on a Russian rocket late Sunday night, the first American to take a Soyuz into orbit since America's space shuttle fleet retired in July. The U.S. now faces the prospect of relying on the Russians for several years to take our astronauts into space because NASA does not have a replacement for the space shuttle.
It felt like an abandonment of prioritization of our nation's spaceflight program is what it felt like. I don't think we should have done that. You don't give up a capability before you have a replacement capability. And we put ourselves in a very precarious situation.
It has been a day of high tension in Ukraine, in particular the southern peninsula known as Crimea.
As many as 20,000 Russian soldiers have been on the move across Crimea in the past 24 hours. Many people in this region don't feel Ukrainian at all.
In 2014, I was finishing my training. I was getting ready for what was supposed to be a 169-day flight on the space station. So in the months leading up to my launch, Russia invaded Crimea. It was like they were proud of that. And my crewmate, Anton Shkaplerov, would run around and Krim nash, which means Crimea's ours. And he's from Crimea. He's from Sevastopol. And he was running around all gung-ho about what they're doing.
And how did that make you feel?
I didn't understand fully what had happened. Every Russian I knew had friends in Ukraine, and they had cousins or uncles, or they were born in Ukraine, or their spouse was Ukrainian. They were just connected. And so I thought, well, these people are kind of the same, and the language is kind of the same. I'm learning to speak Ukrainian now. It is not Russian. But I didn't understand any of this at the time. I was blinded to the excitement of having these Russian partners, and I did not understand the magnitude of the situation.
In Moscow today, just like that, Vladimir Putin signed a document and made it official, and now tonight Crimea belongs to Russia.
Today, the United States is imposing new sanctions in key sectors of the Russian economy. The major sanctions we're announcing today will continue to ratchet up the pressure on Russia, including the cronies and companies that are supporting Russia's illegal actions in Ukraine.
We were very aware that sanctions had happened. In fact, during that time, we sanctioned a guy named Dmitry Rogozin, who was in charge of the Russian space program. Dmitry Rogozin is just full of bluster and is the Russian equivalent of a MAGA extremist.
Мы предупреждали наших американских друзей, да? Если они хотят нанести удар по экономическому потенциалу российского ракетостроения, то пусть тогда батутом доставляют своих астронавтов на Международную космическую станцию.
Господин Trampoline. Господин is like Mr., so we called him Mr. Trampoline. He was threatening to take away our ability to get to space. He was like, hey, you're not flying on our spaceship, you can launch yourself on a trampoline. So when I'm going to launch, you're in your spacesuit and you're carrying this cooling thing and you walk up to the rocket like John Glenn in the 1960s, and there's somebody walking with you. And Dmitry Rogozin, the guy that told us we could take trampolines, was actually the guy that walked me up to my rocket. It was a dichotomy like I've never seen before.
Prime and liftoff. First stage engines.
I was just excited about the mission and excited to fly with Russians. So it was one night, January 2015, I was with Sasha Samokhutyaev, a Russian cosmonaut. And we were just looking out at Europe as we flew over, and we flew over Ukraine. As we went over the eastern part of Ukraine, all of a sudden there were little red flashes, and we were watching bombs go off. We were literally watching people being killed on planet Earth. We were watching Ukrainians being killed by Russians. And it was a profound moment. We didn't say anything. We were both, I remember distinctly being like, holy cow, I can't believe what I'm seeing. And Sasha saw it too. It was probably the most poignant moment of my time in space. We didn't talk about it. I just made the assumption. If you see this happening, any normal human being would come to the conclusion that this is bad and this should not be happening. I realized that there's one country destroying another country, or at least in the beginnings of that phase. That age of innocence ended for me. Everything kind of started to click in my brain that, yes, there are geopolitics on Earth up heretofore that had not affected the space station, and I realized that this was going to affect space. We were going to need to launch our own astronauts and not be dependent on the Russian Soyuz.
We move on now to the countdown to history. NASA and SpaceX set to launch a pair of U.S. astronauts into space in less than 48 hours. The first astronauts to lift off from U.S. soil in 9 years.
...2020. That was the year that everything changed. That was the year that SpaceX returned the ability to launch American astronauts from U.S. soil once again for the first time in almost a decade.
A stunning new era of space travel started today when 2 NASA astronauts launched in a rocket built by a private company.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, spot and dive.
We're still America, we're still strong. We can overcome these challenges and we still press forward.
I was at the White House at the time, and I remember once again kind of begging my bosses to let me cover this.
What a day for both NASA, SpaceX, and Elon Musk. What he has been able to accomplish in just a few short years. There were a lot of people who didn't think he would be able to do it. Now his company has become the first to put astronauts from any country into orbit.
So proud of the people at NASA, all the people that work together, public and private. And when you see a site like that, it's incredible.
This event is something that all of humanity can get excited about. It's just a fundamentally positive, good thing.
Have you heard from your Russian counterpart
So Dmitry Rogozin is the head of Roscosmos in Russia. They believe in the partnership, so I think it's going to remain strong.
The trampoline is working.
That's right.
Yeah, it's an inside joke.
I know what
Inside joke, yeah.
We're inside 10 meters. We cannot make out the docking target, but we do see the outline.
We copy and concur, 10 meters. Soft capture confirmed. Stand by for retraction and docking.
SpaceX makes it possible for the United States to launch American astronauts from U.S. soil in 2020. An absolutely critical milestone that the United States was already really desperate for. But when you look back, it's just incredibly lucky because look what happened just 2 years later.
U.S. officials estimate Russia has likely amassed up to 190,000 troops in and around Ukraine.
Russia is poised with its military forces to conduct an invasion at any time. It could be imminent.
Russian forces attacking Ukraine from nearly every direction.
Vladimir Putin gave this warning for anyone trying to stand in his way.
Whoever tries to interfere with us or threaten our country should know that Russia's response will be immediate and lead to such consequences that have never been experienced in history.
When Russia invaded Ukraine, I couldn't believe it at first. I couldn't believe that somebody I knew now was going to be impacted by war. Because that was my home for 4 years. And I know the people there. I love the people there. And you can't just blanketly say when something bad like that happens that everybody in this country is at fault. And I would hear that rhetoric, and it would make my stomach churn.
Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences. Today, I'm authorizing additional strong sanctions.
Tonight, the Kremlin is accusing the U.S. of an economic war on Russia.
New penalties daily as the effects of those Western sanctions sink into the Russian economy, the currency collapsing.
McDonald's also temporarily closing over 800 locations.
I would say there is a creeping realization that 30 years of progress may be about to end.
We're going to turn now to the future of the International Space Station. The controversial head of the Russian space program threatening to end cooperation on the ISS unless sanctions on Russia are lifted.
Word started coming that, oh, we're going to cancel the space station. So now I'm just worried, is this going to destroy what we created? Is somebody going to come in and tell us now that because the country that we've been partnering with for so many years, peacefully, that because they have declared war on another country, are we no longer going to be able to work together? It's not the people that I work with that declared war. Are we still going to be allowed to continue operating the space station, or is someone just who's not connected with it going to take it away?
A few months after the invasion in 2022, the Russians went out and did a spacewalk and unfurled this Soviet flag on the outside of the Russian segment, and it was a terrible thing to do, like something out of the Cold War. The message is Russia's back. It's just them remembering this time when they were powerful and they were co-equal with the United States. It's them wanting to make their country great again.
Russia has claimed full control of Luhansk, one of the two regions of the Donbass at the heart of the war in Ukraine.
The Russians are overwhelming the Ukrainians out in the east in that offensive right now.
Ну что, тут фотография. Это флаг Луганской республики.
How do you feel about the ISS being politicized in this way?
Ну, принято политическое решение о том, что это является новым регионом России. Это же вопрос не к космонавтам. Им сказали, этот флаг туда прислали, они это выполняют. Космонавты – люди подневольные в этом случае. Если на них, на американских астронавтов это отражается, это ихние это дела. Тогда возникает вопрос, а на своем ли ты месте, как астронавт? Тебе надо идти домой и варить щи, помогать жене.
After Russia invaded Crimea, it was a really strange time on the ISS. I call it cognitive dissonance. On the one hand, I love these guys that I'm with, and on the other hand, their government is doing these horrendous things. So on the ISS, there is a Russian segment and an American segment. US astronauts don't do a lot of work on the Russian segment, but sometimes there's things you need to do. And I remember it was 2015. I had to go down there one day to do something. And as I went down there, the laptop was open. And on our laptops, we have this software that tells us where we should take pictures. Like, there's a volcano, take a picture. And the Russians had left their laptop open to Aviano Air Base. It's a US F-16 base in Italy. And I saw that and I was like, come on, guys, seriously? We have satellites that take pictures of that stuff. I never did anything, spy pictures from the space station. That was like, all right, this is not cool. But my goal was just to survive and not die. I mean, we're in a super dangerous situation living in space. So I did my best to not let it affect my relationships.
How are those relationships now?
All of the relationships I had with Russians have ended. And that was really probably angering more than anything, but also disappointing.
So since Shuttlemere, America and Russia feels like they got on pretty well. But with the war in Ukraine, things really start to go wrong.
Вопрос-то не ко мне, я же ее не начинал. Но на меня гораздо сильнее повлияло, когда американцы в Ливии разбомбили государство.
We've got breaking news out of Libya today where the assault on Gaddafi intensifies.
As America's bombers are poised to take part in the air assault on Yugoslav military forces.
Когда американцы Югославию бомбили, на меня это очень сильно повлияло, я волнуюсь. Но от моего волнения американцы не ушли оттуда. Американцы приперли на Украину, начинают нам рассказывать, как надо родину любить. Хотя, где Украина, а где Америка? Давайте сейчас эту же политику проведем там, в отношении Кубы или еще чего-то. Как себя поведет Америка? Или на Кубе разместим ядерное оружие? Она будет что, в ладоши хлопать, Америка? Я сомневаюсь. Сколько войн развязала Америка? Почему она на себя взяла роль мирового жандарма? Почему она может начинать войны, а другое государство не может?
At least 12 people were killed, and some of them children, after Russia unleashed a barrage of more than 20 cruise missiles at Kyiv and
Ukrainian forces have reported finding hundreds of bodies and mass graves
are taking place to try to find survivors after a theater was bombed in the besieged city of Mariupol.
My feelings about my NASA career, which was all about the space station, are kind of mixed. I'm very proud of what we did as a country, America and NASA. We built an amazing space station and an amazing partnership, and I'm proud of that. And I'm disappointed is not nearly a strong enough word in the Russians.
What do you see as the future for the ISS?
The ISS won't last forever, and there's other things we want to do. We do want to go back to the moon and hopefully eventually to Mars. So it's supposed to be deorbited in 2030. And then cooperation with Russia will end after the International Space Station. I hope the cooperation ends, but I can't say that it will for sure. That's a crazy thing to say. I hope the cooperation ends. For an International Space Station commander who launched on a Soyuz to say, I hope the cooperation ends. But here we are. I wish that's like the worst thing I could say, except for it's not, it's true. But what a terrible place that we've come to.
The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, and we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
Good morning, Texas. It's going to be a beautiful day here in Boca Chica. Are you driving down the highway to Mars? Because later today, Elon Musk and his team at Starbase are due to launch Starship 7. This is your Space Coast update this morning. More after the break.
Boca Chica, it's the Wild West. Like, you can get right up to the rocket.
Now right here, swing around and look at that. This is what it's all about. We get to be this close to the rocket.
I wouldn't be the first person to suggest that the rockets of the modern age are like the cathedrals of hundreds of years ago.
Draw on a rocket. Isn't every day you get to do something like this?
I mean, these are where a lot of people go to worship, in the sense that this is where you're going to reflect on, what is my place in all this? Why am I here? What does this all mean? It feels like the future. Like, it really does feel like the launch pad, the base, Starbase, as they call it, for where humans are going to become multiplanetary.
I would be more than happy to live on Mars. I would be happy to go work there and stay there. I don't even need to come back. I know it's difficult.
This Earth is not going to last forever. The only chance we have is Mars. So I can go on one-way ticket.
I think the symbolism of landing humans on Mars would be one of those moments in history that would be seared into a nation's consciousness. Now the big question is, who gets there first?
Tonight, Chinese astronauts making history on their longest mission yet, a 6-month stay on board China's space station.
All signs point to this new space race, only instead of Russia, the United States' big contender is now China.
Сегодняшний день я прекрасно понимаю, что две державы, которые между собой соревнуются это Китай и Америка. Как развивается Китай, но за китайцами завтрашний день. Победитель в этой гонке получит как бы мировую доминанту. Тот владеет космосом, тот в принципе владеет всем миром.
There we go, go, baby! Oh my God! There it is! Stage separation. There it is! Yes! Come on, baby, come on! We got it! Come on, come back, baby. Come on, baby. Here it comes, guys. There we go! Holy shit! Oh my God! Come on, baby! Go! Fuck yeah! Yes! 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 We did it!
Я оптимист по этой жизни, поэтому я смотрю вперед только с надеждой. Рано или поздно мы все это подойдем к той мысли, что осваивать, допустим, дальний космос отдельно взятой стране будет достаточно сложно и проблематично. И это надо делать совместными усилиями. Это и сближает, это объединяет. Слишком мал и хрупок наш мир, чтобы мы так жестко продолжали вот эту политику. Потому что ничего хорошего не будет, если мы сами себя, грубо говоря, поубиваем.
Well, I'm not aware of any other programs that we are currently planned to partner on. And so to me, you ask me that, it could be the end of our partnership. I sure hope not, because I can't even imagine everything that we've learned in all these years just going to waste. You know, if we can accomplish this together, along with the other countries that we collaborated with, just think about what we could do together on the moon or going to Mars. But I know that's not the world we live in. You turn on the news and you know that there's these horrid things happening everywhere. And, you know, people used to make fun of me because, you know, in my utopia bubble today, here's what we did. And they just can't believe it. World leaders are not interested in things that benefit the human race. They are interested in things that benefit their nation. But for a little while, I lived in a world that didn't operate that way. And it was beautiful. And any of us that have lived that life really believe that there's more we can accomplish together. It's hard to explain, but it's real. I lived it. So we know what we're talking about. It happened. Yeah. And it would be a tragedy not to continue to build on it.
The Open University has produced an interactive flipbook offering extraordinary insights into the human exploration of space. To discover more, scan the QR code or visit connect.open.ac.uk/Once Upon a Time in Space.